going into Street Fighter 6, basically, as we all know, that's basically confirmed that it's happening right now and that that's supposed to be released later on down the line. What things would you guys like to see brought back in Street Fighter 6 that you feel like was lacking in 5 that you feel like improved the game?
First off, all right. So this is a problem I have, and I've been very vocal. I don't really. I'm mostly towards like the people I talk to regularly. They all know my issue, my big issue with Street Fighter V, and it is no universal overhead. There's no universal overheads in the game. So one thing that always bothered me, because like back in the day when I first really, I played Street Fighter Alpha 3. I played Street Fighter Alpha 3 back in the day on PlayStation 1. And one of the things that I really loved about the game is that it seemed like everybody kind of had like some of the, not exactly the same moves, but everybody was capable of the same things for the most part. And then like in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike was the first Street Fighter I played after that. Like I didn't really play Street Fighter games for a long stretch of time until like college. I played Alpha 3 in middle school. I didn't play Street Fighter 3 Third Strike till college. And in that game, every character had an overhead. All of them did. It was the exact same input. You did the exact same input. Everybody had an overhead. And one of the characters in Street Fighter V, Ed, one of my favorite characters actually, he doesn't have an overhead. So the amount of threat that he can produce to a person who's crouching isn't a whole lot. Because I mean, what's he going to do? He can come up to you and he can grab you, or he can maybe try to jump over you and try to get a cross up. But I mean, if you see that coming, there's only two things he can do at that point. There's not a whole lot of chance for mixing it up, at least in my opinion. From what I've observed playing the game, it's just it feels like characters that don't have an overhead are at a distinct disadvantage against characters who do. Especially like you're fighting a character like Urian who can do a medium into a downward heavy for an overhead. So it just goes in and then he comes down on you. It's like, oh well, I wish I had a move like that. I wish my character could do something like that. But yeah, I think universal overheads would be something I'd like to see come back. In fact, I would say most of the stuff in like Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, like the parry system, love the parry system. I thought the parry system made for some really hype engagements, some really cool turnarounds. There were some times where like one parry could mean the difference between life and death. You parry that last hit of that string, and then you go right into like a Shoryu Reppa, and you win the match. Just because you had the right timing. You just timed it right that one time. You could have been getting smacked the entire match. You might have been getting some damage collection here and there, but they're obviously ahead. And then once you hit that one parry, and then boom, Shoryu Reppa, the match is over, and you won. And it's like, that kind of stuff gets my heart racing. It gets my blood pumping, you know what I'm saying? So I would like to see, stuff like that make an appearance in the next Street Fighter. That would be really cool. And something I wouldn't want to see in the next Street Fighter, I don't know. Maybe if like they would give like a little bit more at the beginning, like instead of like showing up with like almost nothing, like basically the exact same thing they've been doing for the past two games. Maybe you could like actually come in with like a full like fully rounded cast from the beginning, and then maybe bring in more people instead of just coming in with like a skeleton crew at the start. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that parry system would definitely make your win at the end seem more deservable than just hit V trigger, let's go. So hear from you, Devin. Like, what would you like to see in Street Fighter 6?
First off, man, Evan, don't feel bad about the stutter. I think all three of us know that Street Fighter Alpha 3 is so hype. When you talk, you just get excited. So it's hard to contain the excitement that the Street Fighter Alpha 3 brings. So it's totally understandable. That game was so hype. My favorite Street Fighter of all time, Street Fighter Alpha 3. Yeah, really, what I would like to see brought back, I think I kind of want to see a guard meter brought back. I don't think we've had a Street Fighter with a guard meter in like since Third Strike, I think. Street Fighter 4 didn't have one. They had the stun, but they didn't have a stun bar like 5 does. So I think maybe bringing back the guard meter and the guard cancels. I think that might be something because I feel like defensive options to me in like Street Fighter has been kind of iffy. Like V reversal, it's like okay, it's supposed to be like an option to get people off of you, but it's like then they found tech. Oh, some characters. Oh, Fang does a V reversal. Oh, I just grab him right out of it. It's like, what's the point? I just wasted meter. I just wasted resources to get grabbed.
Yeah.
So I think putting a more foolproof defensive mechanic in the game is something that I think is needed. And the visms, the isms, like the V-ism, A-ism, X-ism from Alpha. I thought it was so dope how they just like pretty much put these different types of mechanics in the game because each one gave you like different things you do. V-ism, oh my gosh, custom combos. I want custom combos back. The hype that custom combo when I first saw my high level match at Alpha 3, I think it was Alex Valle versus Daigo. I lost my mind. I forgot how to speak for a second because I just saw like Akuma hood Tatsu Dragon Punch. I'm like, I didn't even know this was possible. I'm out here doing the most basic V's, just punch, fire. But like these dudes are doing whole combos. You got Akuma coming down with the elbow. I'm like, I didn't even know this was possible, man. So when I saw like high level Alpha 3 and like everybody was using how good Vism was, like you could cancel it, I think like Invincible on startup, I'm like, yo, we need to get like different isms back in Street Fighter. So when Street Fighter 6, if it comes out, I would like for it to have like an alpha feel to it, maybe like an alpha third strike-ish. I do think parries are dope. It definitely added a whole skill level to the thing because you watch some people like they like parry everything. I'm like, how do you like the mind games and like the level of the layers of thinking that has to go into like you parry everything? Like, come on, I'm trying to hit you. Stop parrying. But it's just dope to see. And of course, how can we forget Evo Moment 37? The one of probably the greatest moment of all time. And it's like he did it on a whim, and I know that I saw him say like, "Oh, I never practiced this." I'm like, "How did you just do that?" He was like, "Oh, he did super, and did kill." Like he had no life, which already makes most players like nervous and anxious. He was like,
"Cause Daigo."
Just like I'm like, it was amazing. So, and you know how hard that was. So that makes it even like you were saying just a minute ago, Chair. Like it makes it even harder or more impressive because like it's hard. Like he parried that whole super, followed up perfectly, and then got the kill. Not just punished, but he punished and got the kill. So isms and parry, I think I definitely want back in the next Street Fighter.